How does this super busy guy running multiple businesses as an entrepreneur and taking care of his children actually find time to start a business in the terms niche? Hey there, it's Chris Prefontaine with another Deal Structure Sunday. I am joined by High Six and Certified Coach member Link Ervin. And Link, I'm going to have you introduce Marius. So there's just a plethora of things that I want to say about him. So why don't you introduce him?
Yep, Marius Pavel. He is one of our associates, starter associates in Southwest Cleveland.
All right, awesome. And so let me jump in and say welcome, Marius, to your first Deal Structure Sunday, first of many.
Nice to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's simply awesome. I'm going to let Link do a lot of the deal structure with you, but so these guys get to know you just, 10,000-foot view prior to Smart Real Estate Coach, what you had going on, like bullet point it, and I know you're licensed as a CPA as well. And also, why the transition? Like, why did you add Smart Real Estate Coach in Associate? So you can jump in.
Yeah, I've been running a trucking business, small trucking, just small fleet for 15 years now. So a freight brokerage business alongside, and it keeps us busy. We move freight all over the country. So I wanted a couple of years ago, thought, call in my mind that I would like to explore real estate. So we started studying, reading, listening to podcasts. So I got my real estate license earlier last year, just so I know more about it, not really to practice. And then I ran into Chris's podcast. I think you were a guest on some other podcast, and I listened to your podcast mid last year. And I like the concept, and I love what this is. Helping people get into homes, helping sellers, sell their homes. So I just thought, yeah, I'm going to give it 10, 15 hours a week. I think I can squeeze it in there between running my business, running my kids around. And so, yeah, it's grown, and it takes a little bit of effort, but it's the success, in such a short time frame is something that is it's proven the system for me. So I'm all in.
I love it. So Link, you want to dive into the deal? I've got some rough numbers in front of me, but you guys know it intricately, like how it went and kind of the highlights of the paydays.
Well, actually, I want to dig in a little bit more about Marius here before we dig into the deal. There's a couple things that I think everybody out there ought to know about Marius. When I first met him, we were actually at QLS, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's really going to struggle doing this business. He doesn't seem to have a lot of personality. He's very introverted. Like, it's hard to get words out of him, and he's going to be on the phone calling people, talking to people about deals. He's got this language barrier possibly. I mean, like, I was concerned for his success. Come to find out, he's one of the brightest people I've ever met, and he is great with people. He just got to get comfortable with what he's talking about, and he was absorbing at the time and becoming more knowledgeable about it. But I mean, he's not the natural salesman, rush out into the world and talk to everybody kind of guy, but he's having success because he's following the plans and doing the things, improving the situations, improving the scenarios, and consistently putting forth effort. And I think it's important for people to hear me say that, because he's not your typical, rush out and spend money, entrepreneur, sign up and just wing it kind of guy. And I think it's important everybody knows that.
Super cool. Yeah, that's why you guys know each other well, and I want to make sure that they understood and get to know Marius, because they're going to see many more deals with him.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you guys walk through, like, I can start it off, but I know it looks like it was a sandwich, and it was from a postcard, which Link teaches very clearly and distinctly.
Yep, absolutely. I'm pushing it because it's been successful for me, and I don't mean like $5,000 a month, 20,000 postcards, or whatever you pay those big mass marketers. I'm talking about targeted into areas and specific situations, sending quality addresses and good leads that a postcard that gets their attention. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I want to put some light on that, Marius, because wholesale is literally Link just alluded to it, 10,000 a month. I mean, it's insane for a new investor to try to do that. How much did you spend on postcards, Marius?
It's on an area that we typically get the leads from, like 50-mile radius. You'd get probably, depending on, again, on the state and for me, I get about 150 to 200 every 2 weeks. So let's say 300 a month. So 300
Okay.
a month at 60 cents for the stamp and the postcard. It's,
Nothing.
it's nothing. It's $200, $200.
Okay. Sweet. I want to make sure I made light of that. And then, so it looks like it was an expired specific mailing. Do you guys remember what was on the market for, and then jump into your own numbers?
Yeah, it started high. It started at 329, and then the seller, whatever the agent kept bringing it down, and it stopped at 265. At which point, I think the seller said, "This is it. I'm not. This is already past what I want to get." So, and she pulled it off the market. So,
okay.
So 265 was off the market.
Okay. And Link, any nuances you jump in? It looks like it's a 36-month structure. You guys tied up for 275, but talk a little bit about the mortgage, the underlying mortgage, and then if it's 275, was there any equity there?
Yeah, the seller only had a HELOC on it, a line of credit, so he's only paying interest. So I think if I'm right, it's the seller owed like 172 on it, and with this 275, she had about $102,000 in equity.
Okay, cool. So important for the viewers to know, as always, what Marius and Link did was they said, there's no price. They use a price for a formula. The price on the agreement says exact mortgage payoff at time of financing, which in this case, it's that, because it's not going to change much, and plus 102. Correct, guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as this, pretty much at the end of the first conversation, we talked about equity from there on.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So then you guys went out to the market. You sold it for $3,099, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So
there's another step in there, Chris. Let me tell you about another step. So Marius had done a really good job with this lady. He'd gone back and forth, spent a ton of time talking about our system, our program, our plans. I actually talked to her, and during the course of our conversation, it turned out that Marius was being an accountant and trying to keep too much of the monthly profit in this deal. She was trying to shy away.
By trying.
Well, no, you absolutely can't. And when I called him later to tell him what I had done, he said, "Wait, you did what? You gave her how much?" And I said, "Here's the thing, the target rent on this house, she only had a HELOC underlying. And so the payment was $600 a month to her, or on the HELOC. And the rent on this house is somewhere in the $1,900 to $2,100 a month range."
Wow. Okay.
And so he was trying to hold on to all that spread, and it was making her uncomfortable. And when I got on the phone with her, I talked through everything to make sure that he'd answer all of her questions, explained everything. I knew where I was headed, but I just wanted to make sure that we had a good concept of everything so that there wasn't some other underlying issue laying there that we weren't aware of. And so I dug through, and finally at the end of the conversation, I said, "Yeah, so let me ask you this question. What if we could pay you," and I don't remember what the number was, but $700 a month. If we pay the mortgage payment and then also make a payment to you each month, and then she also she has a couple other rentals, and she was concerned about having access to that line of credit, and we put a limit in there that she could borrow up to X amount that comes off the equity that we give her at the end, so that she could have access to the money if she needed it, but she was aware that it could impact her equity. So there's a couple little nuances that I uncovered and worked with her there on the phone with, but I mean, Marius had done a great job up to that point, but I ended up giving away some of his profit. He wasn't very happy with me, but he got the deal. So.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
CPA brain was kicking in.
That's right.
Link, I think it's cool you brought that up, because we did a deal that's actually a payday 3 for us is cashing out this month, but it was a woman that had the HELOC just like that, but she was buying and selling horses. So we gave her up to that amount, but it's just going to come off at the end if she spends it. It's no big deal, as long as there's equity beyond it, which there is.
Right.
Cool.
And especially for a new student, it was important to realize there are options, and that's the great thing about what we do. I mean, you can go so many different directions with our deals. And there's, whether it's give them a little extra equity, paying them monthly some money. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do. And, you know, that's why having 2 sets or 3 sets of eyes on deals sometimes, you know, are important. You know, last week I reached out to you about that deal of another associate that I wasn't 100% confident about what to do with. And so it's really cool that we're all here working together, moving the same direction, working deals at the same time. So I can't stress that enough.
No, especially in this market that we're up against right now, to have a community and B, a coach is simply, I think it's necessary right now. But let's jump to the numbers. You guys got this baby sold, payday 1, upfront down payment.
So they were able to put down 10,000, and they are selling their existing home, and the houses are flying off the market right now. So they're coming up with another 20,000 within the next few months. So I have no issue with that being the case.
Well, so total 30.
With 31,000 is the total payday 1, but we only got 10,000 up front plus first payment plus admin. But there's another spin on this, another little nuance that's important to know about this deal. One, Marius is a realtor, and he actually took the listing on the house, so we have control over the house that's being sold to acquire the down payment. That's one important nuance. And then the second important nuance is we went ahead with the buyer and explained, without regard to that house selling, because this is a joint family situation, without regard to that house selling, you are still responsible for this down payment. If it doesn't work out and that house doesn't sell, you are still on the hook for this additional down payment, and we need you to understand that. And so
Good.
we went back to them with that to make sure at the closing table that they were aware of that.
Nice, very cool. A lot of cool nuances, Link, that you jumped in on there. So 30 for that. Payday 2, you started to talk about your monthly payment, $1,650. What did you go out at the market and get?
$21.95.
So 5 something's a nice spread.
545, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so 545 over 36 months is how much? Did you guys do that up? I mean, we can ballpark it. 20 grand?
20 grand, yeah.
18, 19, 20 grand, yeah. Okay, awesome. So you got so for payday 3, you got the markup of about 35 grand. Yep. You guys said it was a HELOC, but I got a note here that there was some principal pay down.
Yep.
So it's built in?
Because, we're paying $600 a month to the seller principal. So.
That's right. Built into the payment. Smart.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. I'm back on track with you. Okay. And then you minus the deposit of 30,900. So you got another payday at the end of a little over 25 grand.
Right.
Sweet. So lo and behold, this thing comes out about the average that I talk about on every single webinar, and that Link and I and Zach talked about when we're on the road doing a workshop, and that's about 76 grand.
Yep.
Would you look, it's not magic, guys. It depends on the price range, but that's right in line with the averages around the country.
Yeah. Well, one more nuance now. Let me throw another twist on you. So the day that Marius signed this up, he found out that the seller had withheld some high utility bills, and he was so disenchanted. He's like, "We're never going to find anybody. The utility bills are this," and he was so upset. That was about 4 weeks ago.
I don't remember.
Sold in a month. I mean, not just sold, we have people living in it in less than a month. And he was just totally distraught with some things he found out at the end about the house. And I'm like, let's just find a buyer. Let's worry about the rest of that stuff later. Let's find a buyer. We'll worry about the other stuff. And well, he was really distraught when a few things he found out there near the end.
Always ways to pivot, right? Always.
That's right.
Always. Guys, a couple things here besides the math and the numbers. You just said it sold in about less than a month, Link. Okay, so that's cool. You were able to capture first month. So in other words, you didn't start your payment till a month after occupancy, correct? Nice. And then how long had you been in the business before your first deal, working with Link specifically?
Working with Link since
basically October 1, right?
October, yes.
Okay, so less than 6 months.
Right.
Love it. The last few deal structures have been that way. So it's good to see that. I always tell people to manage expectations, but also good to see you guys popping deals inside of that. And congrats, Marius, again, and many more deal structures together. Thanks for being on. Guys, if you're not subscribed yet to YouTube, you're going to want to do that because you don't want to miss these deal structures. As Link just said, like just a couple of his nuggets and Marius's tweaks that he's done, that's a deal maker or breaker. We are going to be addressing different niches that are popping up within our niche given the market conditions. We're talking about it on our weekly associate private call, but we're going to expose it to you guys as we roll out, and make sure you're registered for the virtual event coming up. It's completely virtual. There's no reason why you can't register. Go to bizscaling.com. Guys, thanks for being on again, and congrats.
Thank you.